I find Aetna Disability Insurance Company a difficult company to deal with, and in preparing for this video today I did some research along with my partner Stephen Jessup to try to figure out, besides the fact that they're a disability insurance company and like most of them they like to give claimants a hard time, what is it about the makeup of their company that causes them to what I consider neglect long-term and short-term disability claims? And I think when we took a look at their most recent annual report, I was able to determine, based upon their revenues, how much of their business is really long-term disability and short-term disability insurance claims. So I have here a letter that was written by the chairman of their company, Ronald Williams. And in there they show their most recent financial data, their financial results, because they're a publicly traded company. And they did about $31.6 billion in revenues in 2010. And of those revenues, only 500, and I say only, $536 million of those revenues, meaning sales for disability policies, were for long-term disability insurance versus the remaining billions of dollars. So there'd probably be like another, let's see, 500 million minus 31.6 billion. So over $31 billion in other types of sales. And primarily, they're a health insurance company. And as an ancillary benefit, they also sell disability coverage. So I think when we deal with them on a regular basis, now don't get me wrong, $500 million is still a lot of money in sales, but when we deal with them on a regular basis, I find them to be difficult because of the lack of communication that's available. And you know from your experiences as well that you send them letters, sometimes we can go 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, no response. They claim they don't get the letter. I'll call. The claim rep is constantly changing on the claim. There's no consistency with them as to how they want to do their monthly claim forms, whether or not they want an attending physician statement. Then one person will tell me 1 month, we'll just do a phone call with you every 2 months or every 4 months. And then another person will say, no, we want to speak to your doctor. And then all of a sudden they'll call the client and go, we didn't realize that you were representing the client. And then I also sometimes feel as if, and I don't know this for sure, that they're outsourcing their work to either outside claims adjusters or claims adjusters that are working out of their homes. And whenever you say, can I speak to a manager or is the person available, they're not available because they're at their house and they're not in a corporate office. And I just think that's a company strategy because they just don't have the placement to put a full-time long-term disability division in place.
Well, and I think you touch on that perfectly, where it always seems there may be a lack of cohesion when dealing with an insurance company. Aetna seems to be even more so. You say with regards to sending information, whether it be faxes via mail, and they claim they never received it, despite the fact that you've sent it multiple times. And you know, $500 million is a lot of money in any estimate, but when it's making such a small portion of what they really sell, what the product is, it's almost like it's getting the last of the resources when it comes to how they're going to handle the claims. Even when if you do a simple search online, you see consumer complaint sites where there's forums, and the Aetna ones, a lot of them was a resounding one after another of, I try to get through to the person on my claim, I find out they've switched it, no one has any idea, they didn't receive the information, and they're just delay.
Yeah, and it's especially a problem where on a monthly basis, especially for clients, and lots of people call us, where 1 month they send the check on this date, the next month it's this date, and there's no consistency, and then all of a sudden they want to do an IME. And then they can stop benefits, or they do the IME and then they don't tell you for 6 months what's going on. So we have several clients represented by Aetna, and one that comes to mind recently was somebody who was employed by Marriott, because I think Aetna has the Marriott plan, and that employee had to go through an IME, and I told them, like we do a lot, I wanted to videotape the IME, and they said, no, it's not our company policy. And no matter what, even though the law provided that they needed to allow for it, they weren't going to allow for the video at all. They also didn't want to provide a copy of the report from the IME. They refused to give that as well. They said, go ahead and get it from the doctor, which is also unusual because most of the companies will give us a copy of the report. And so I just try to make this video as brief as possible, but I think there was a most recent case that you took a look at against Aetna.
Yeah, it's not so unfamiliar, and I know we've touched upon it before when it comes to, for instance, Social Security benefits. If you receive them Is that going to be, help you get long-term? Obviously, we've discussed plenty before, it's not de facto meaning you can get long-term disability, but the courts have been very consistent saying it's strong evidence in support of disability. And I was reading an opinion from the District Court of Appeal out in California, the Ninth Circuit. So one court level down from the Supreme Court, and the trial level court determined that Aetna acted reasonable in denying the claim. Well, the appellate court, and this is just June of 2011, this is very recent, and it's pretty common knowledge you have to review the Social Security, ripped Aetna apart saying, listen, you didn't take into account any of the Social Security information, you didn't explain why your opinion differed, and they went on to say, too, that the person asked you, they reached out and said, well, what information do I need to give you to help make my claim stronger so that I give you this evidence that you want? Aetna didn't respond in any way, and what they've done, and you kind of see this happen a lot, they relied upon a 2004 test that was performed to determine disability in 2010. And the court said, why don't you just tell her that you wanted updated testing to be done so that could have been provided to you? And the court actually remanded it back to the district court, not to say we want you to review everything with our findings, but to make sure that they reinstated the benefit. So it seems Aetna is kind of even behind the times in knowing what the case law is to an extent, and they're still basing denials on or lack of information, or they're not giving the consideration, which kind of goes in this whole field that Aetna seems to be so disorganized when it comes to the handling of these claims.
Right. I know recently also they stopped handling and accepting new long-term care claims, and so because it wasn't profitable for them, and I don't think that this disability claims are probably profitable for them, so they're kind of neglecting it, and the company's focusing on where their bread and butter is with the $31 billion, and so disability claimants with with Aetna claims are unfortunately getting the short end of the stick. And the company did $1.5 billion in profit last year, so you got to be prepared when dealing with Aetna. You got to dot your I's and cross your T's, and you can get paid. It's just you got to be patient and really know what you're doing. So Steve, if you have, with our clients who have Aetna disability claims, or someone that calls us on Aetna disability claim, you really got to be super prepared, because you know that Aetna is going to highly scrutinize the claim and then probably disappear for a certain period of time, and the claimant's going to have to be patient. But like I tell anyone who calls us, or potential clients or current clients, whenever you have a question about a Aetna disability claim, feel free to call us at your convenience. We'll be happy to review your policy and let you know what your options are. If your claim's been denied by Aetna, we handle all the Aetna appeals plus filing lawsuits against Aetna on a routine basis.